So soy, become the motor. Pro-designed ink wrist guards, always wear them. Blizz eyewear, design, flexibility, and value.
Hey folks, and welcome to another SpikeBoarding spikeboarding tutorial. Here we are in Nyack, New York, a beautiful lower Hudson Valley river town, approximately 25 miles north of George Washington Bridge, New York City. And we are watching an athlete approximately 21, 22 months into the sport of spikeboarding. And for everyone living in the Nyack area, there's a little dog that got a little upset with something he hadn't seen before, which is a little common. Dogs see spikeboarding and they haven't seen it, and some are very happy and some get a little more excited. So we're going to cover a relatively flat beginner course that is going to go from Runcible Spoon, where you saw the athlete pull out from, and this is Dan Bowen, who is in his 21st month of spikeboarding. You're seeing an athlete who's never ridden a skateboard in his life prior to spikeboarding. So he's doing very, very well here. He's going to demonstrate a lot of different things that we're going to see and talk about. But getting back to this circuit, the circuit is out and back, and we're just going to go from Runcible Spoon up to the end of the road where there's a park, and loop around and then come back. And the circuit has just enough high side or sort of uphill and downhill to make it interesting for a beginner, and it's got plenty of flat, and certainly there's no descents that are going to pitch you any faster than, say, 20 miles an hour. And of course you can cadence brake a little bit and scrub that if you want. And the pavement's pretty nice. As you saw, you're passing a little bit of crocodile pavement, but you can make your way around it, and Dan's navigating it pretty well with a little bit of one-footed steering. And let's just go over the strokes of what spikeboarding is. This is the stand-up spike stroke. It's a modified double poling stroke. So if he had one roller ski on each foot and two shafts, he would be roller skiing. And that's where the sport of spikeboarding comes from, guys. It actually is a derivation of Nordic roller skiing. So cross-country skiers roller ski about 70% of their season, and they use a spike. That's where SpikeBoarding, the name, comes from. The little spike tip at the end of the skateboard spike gets sharpened every 2-3 hours with a carbide steel file tip, and then it bites into asphalt like nobody's business. And it's been doing that for a good 30-40 years, I'd say. And even roller skiing is raced at World Cup. So when you hear the words World Cup, it just denotes a series of races that's participated in by the most elite athletes of a sport. So those who win the better part of usually a race series of 5, 6, 10 races. That's what a World Cup means. So it's not raced in the Olympics, roller ski, but it is raced in the FIS, Federation International de Ski, competitions worldwide. And this is your steepest little pitch here, one of them. So as you see, we're well under 20 miles an hour here, and Dan's just going to navigate this little downhill comfortably while he's stand-up spiking. And at the bottom of this thing, there's just a little bit of turbulence. Dan's going into a little bit of a tuck right here, and get behind that camera bike, and up he goes. And then this is going to flatten out once again. So after you reach a certain speed, there's no ability to kick the legs, but they're just too heavy. But there's still an ability to carry cadence with your upper arms. So the stand spike stroke is a wonderful innovation that allows for a little higher cadence than legs. And now if you wanted here, you could return to the Kubi cross stroke. And so reading pavement and reading terrain, that's what you need to do to go between the two strokes. And here back to what is called a Kubi cross stroke. And we've seen it before in this video, and you're seeing it again. And that stroke is new to the family of human propulsion. Comes from a skateboard kick combined with everything that cross-country skiers do as well with their upper body. And note that the athlete is going left and right, and that the sport is fully, there's a little step over, and that is done by stepping back and then stepping forward, and hence the board being the length that it is. There it is again, and you need some room to step back and then leave a little bit of room in the front of the board so that you can step over. Also, of course, you're seeing that the board is optimized for switch kicking, spikeboarding, by having its wheels covered. So wheels obviously covered can't be stepped on. Wheels that are covered can't nick the spike, and that is very important in the sport. So notice how the synchronization is in alignment there when the Kubi cross is happening. The foot and the spike are hitting simultaneously. And here's a stand-up spike stroke again. And notice how the shaft is parallel to the board, as parallel as possible. And that's achieved by taking that front shoulder and that leading shoulder and rotating it over just a little bit and getting that foam handle over to the side and keeping that shaft parallel to the board. So for every degree that the shaft goes out to the side, sometimes you'll see that shaft go slightly out sideways and not perfectly parallel with the board. You're just going to lose power. And that, of course, is all technique that you begin to develop. Where the spike is, so it's right there, a couple strokes, you're seeing the spike off by 1 or 2 degrees. On this side it's a little better, and over time, into the 3rd, 4th, and 5th years, that spike begins to straighten out very well. Here you see in the stand-up spike stroke, just out by 1 or 2 degrees. See how that shaft is a little bit sideways there? So you bring that shoulder over just a little bit and bring the foam top over to the side. You'll get that a little more parallel. So here we come around the toll booth at the park. And this is a lot of fun to come around here. And again, this is about as downhill as you're going to get on this circuit. And again, this circuit isn't totally beginner right out of the gate. This isn't where you start the sport. The sport actually begins more isolated. We like to take beginners over to places where there are absolutely no cars at all, and it's perfectly pan flat. And often we start with people on grass and how slow can you go drills, so please make sure you watch some videos on the channel that are for complete and total beginners. And the sport divides into those who have ridden a board before and those who haven't. And not so much because spikeboarding has that much to do with skateboarding, because it has much more to do with cross-country skiing. But of course you're standing on a board, and if your body neurologically has stood on a board before, well, you've pretty much got about 25% of spikeboarding custom into your body. There's a 2/1 stroke that Dan's doing well. Coming down from the toll booth is a little bit more of a downhill on this circuit, and you can glide a little more. And whenever you glide, there's opportunities in spikeboarding to practice these kinds of drills and these kinds of strokes, which just increase the load of balance on your body and just develops a more centered approach to your balance. So remember, folks, fitness is strength, endurance, plus balance load upon the body, and of course, at least we forget being flexible. So stretching is something you want to get into as well. But this sport will offer strength, endurance, plus balance, moderated by your navigational skills. So if you're falling down in spikeboarding, you did something wrong. And if you fall down in figure skating, you didn't do anything wrong, you're just learning acrobatic tricks. So there's some 1/1 and also some switch cadence on the 1 count, which you saw is a little more challenging. So breaking your stride on cadence of 1 and then switching to the other side, cadence of 1, switching on the other side, that is the most advanced way to switch. So when you kick once and get everything going in momentum, there's a little drift. It's showing us a little drift. We drifted from the front to the back. When you switch on 2 and 3 cadence, you've gotten everything going in momentum. So you'll see as the athlete begins to switch, then his cadence is interrupted, and every time on that first 1 count, like there it is, the 1 count, and that's a nice smooth, went straight into 2, and see as he switches on the 1 count, it is the most challenging to come over. So these are pretty good 2s and 3s that we're doing, 1/1. And again, this long sloping descent from the toll booth is really nice to do these kinds of drills gently and slowly. You're activating your core constantly. And notice how that arm never descends completely. See how it's bent at 90 degrees? So the idea is to just keep that arm bent like a lever that activates into the core. And there's some really clean 1/1s. There he goes. Really nice clean 1/1s, and then a little bit of turbulence knocked him off and just sends him back into a little stand-up spike. And here we go back into some kubi cross and some 1/1s. The 1/1 stroke and technique is very satisfying, incredibly satisfying when you begin to achieve it. And on these kinds of terrains, this is the most optimum way to do this. Of course, Dan also will 1/1 uphills, and even at 21 months, he has surpassed the best athletes in the sport at 1/1. No one in the world has beaten this guy at 1/1 hill climbing. It's truly remarkable. Check out more videos online and watch Dan Bowen setting some big marks in 1/1 uphill climbing. It's pretty extraordinary. And there's that was a nice little connector from stand-ups or kubi cross to stand-up spike. That's done from the rear of the board. So there, Dan is standing at the rear of the board, and you'll see how seamlessly it goes into a stand-up spike right there, coming from the rear of the board. And that's called connector stroke, connector drill, and it connects the 2 strokes seamlessly. There you saw it again, how easily the body connects from double thrusting in the kubi cross straight to a stand-up spike. Keep an eye on how he was in the front of the board there, and there he's in the rear of the board. So there is the possibility to come into a connector if he so wants. It's a little more challenging to go into connector when you're at the front. There he's at the front, and a little bit of off balance. And of course, at 20, 22, 23 months, those kinds of things are absorbed by the body, and your neurological system is completely accustomed to it. So as you see, folks, this sport didn't jump any park benches, and it didn't slide, and it hasn't done any radical or acrobat. And not that there's anything particularly wrong with that. I just point that out to you to demonstrate how similar this sport is to road cycling or cross-country skiing. There's no radical element, and there's no trick element. There's 100% technique, which means a focus on your stroke, the development of your stroke, and also the development of your strength and your endurance and your balance to basically just go miles and miles of endurance, transport sport, with the sport of spikeboarding. Transport sport, a little term you may not have heard, all the sports that recreate and transport. First recreation, we recreate, and then we commute. So Mr. Bowen commutes in New York City quite a bit with the sport, and he'd be dressed in street clothes. Here we're dressed in technical clothes, lycra. folks, we're coming to the end of our little video here. This is the end of the loop. And of course, if you're doing this for a workout, you would just keep on going. So, been nice showing you this. And if you're in Nyack, give us a call at 917-566-3386. Spike hard, spike often, SpikeBoarding, the sport of balanced strength. Nyack, start spiking. We think you're really going to enjoy it. Tune in for some more videos, and we'll show you some more roads.
So soy, become the motor. Pro-designed ink wrist guards, always wear them. Blizz Eyewear, design, flexibility, and value.